Languaging and Education, an Introduction. Now, in this new lecture, we will be talking about languaging, what it means again. We'll talk a little bit about its role in education and a number of other topics. So the things we are going to touch upon is how is language related to power? What are the implications of this linguistic hierarchy prevalent in the wider socio-economic and socio-cultural context? And how does it lead to choose certain languages in our education? And what does it mean to have bilingual education when the languages or the two languages that are used in that are the dominant languages only? We will be constantly using this concept of languaging, which is a concept given to us by Pennycook, and he says this languaging as a verb would mean that the fluid ways or the flexible ways in which languages are actually used in different contexts. So when a person is speaking, it's very difficult to say which language he or she is speaking in real life context when they are actually engaged in some sort of discourse, because they are constantly using and utilizing all the linguistic repertoire that they have. Then there is this very interesting concept of constructing language. So we argue over here that language, the concept of a language is actually socially constructed. So we decide which language is actually a language, which language is a dialect, and which language is actually not a language but belongs to another language that we think should be labeled as such. For instance, let me remind you about this controversy about Urdu and Hindi. The question is, are Urdu and Hindi the same languages or are they different? So there are prominent linguists who would say that Urdu and Hindi are basically the same languages. However, work has been done deliberately to separate the two languages and to change the orthography of the two languages and certain vocabulary from other languages, for instance, Persian and Arabic in Urdu and Sanskrit in Hindi, have been put together to make it two different languages. So that means language is a social construction and there is no such thing as a language, but we decide which is it that we can call a language. We will discuss how important bilingual heterogeneity in schools is in terms of recognizing its complexity, and should we only restrict ourselves to two languages or should we also give room to other minority languages that enter the school? We'll talk about what is the role of state and languages. How do states impose languages? Why do they do that? What about the language policies? And then there is this concept of not just globalization, but also glocalization. Now, what does this concept mean? And what does it mean in terms of languages itself? This is what we will discuss in these modules that will come up, and we will also talk about that why are certain linguistic codes imposed upon us and what political or social or ideological effect it has.